Hello, my thriving members. I wanted to introduce you to the thriving mindset. It's something I've been working on for the past 47 years. And yes, that's how old I am. I've been working on this my entire life because this is the way my brain works. It took me a long time to articulate what is actually happening in my brain. It is still evolving, and I'm sure I will make changes about my definition of the thriving mindset. But it's the very first time I've been able to put language into what I've been feeling and what I've been thinking my entire life, and how it all led to me feeling thriving. It's a wonderful journey, and I wanted to share that with you. You've heard about the Thrive framework in my other video. The thriving mindset complements the Thrive framework, and it will all make sense shortly. What is a thriving mindset? Here's my definition. It's a way of thinking that honors our evolving inner self and outer world without following a straight path and always aligned with what matters most. So a thriving mindset is a way of thinking that honors our evolving inner self and outer world without following a straight path and always aligned with what matters most. You might be asking, why didn't I just put that in a sentence format? Why did I break it down like that? This is how my brain thinks. I try to simplify and synthesize what a definition would be. This is how I think actually too as a lawyer when I break down laws and complicated languages of the rules and regulations. So I wanted to give you a glimpse of how I parse out information, because the words that I highlighted are the main words that I hope you take with you with the definition. Now that you know the definition, let's break it down. Let's start with the first part of the definition of the thriving mindset, a way of thinking. I wanted to define what it actually means to think. I feel that whenever we're actively thinking, it's because first we recognize that we're uncentered. When we feel something, when we think about doing something, or when we want to problem solve, yes, we are identifying a problem, but what is really a problem, or what is really an issue? I think a problem for us human beings mean that we feel something that makes us uncentered, that we are no longer balanced. That's why we feel off. That's what I mean about uncentered. We recognize that, hey, something is wrong here. And then we try to identify what is making you feel uncentered. Not why you're feeling uncentered, but we first try to identify what is making me feel uncentered. What is that feeling? What is happening? What is affecting me to feel that way? And then we take action to recenter. That, I believe, is the ultimate goal of our entire system, our mind, our body, our heart, our soul. Everything about us wants to recenter. And I don't want to use the word balance because balance have a negative connotation for us moms, because we've been trained, or society has told us that, oh, we have to balance being a mom and our work. So I don't want to trigger anyone with that. That's why let's use the word recenter. When I say the thriving mindset is a way of thinking, what I mean is that it is to recognize that you're uncentered, to identify what is making you uncentered, and to take action to recenter. Because This is the hardest part, the third part, which is we usually don't know how to recenter. And we'll talk about that more throughout the thriving mindset definition and the thriving framework that I have for this course. Now let's talk about the next part of the definition of thriving mindset, which is that honors our evolving inner self and outer world. We are changing constantly. This honoring our evolving inner self and outer world, the main word I want us to focus on is the word evolving, because as human beings, we are constantly changing in all aspects of our lives, whether inside our inner selves or our outer world. And I will define what inner self and outer world means to me. Just know that we are constantly evolving. Let's move on to defining what inner self means. I believe that the inner self is composed of 4 different parts. The first part is the mind. That's why T for our thriving framework stands for tune in. Tune in to your ADHD brain and mind. The next part of the inner self is our heart. H for hold space. Hold space for your emotions. That's why we have to build our emotional regulation rituals during the hold space module that we'll be talking about. The next part of our inner self is our body. That's where rhythmize comes in. R for rhythmized flexible structures, routines, and flow so that our body will feel recentered. And then purpose. That's where I comes in. Ignite your purpose. Anchor into your deeper mission and values. These first 4 are what is composed of your inner self. As you can guess, the outer world is now composed of the last 2 parts of the Thrive framework. V for village. Value your village. Harmonize your business, family, and self-care, because you are not alone. There is your village outside of you. All these 4 were about you internally. These last 2 are about everything that's around you. That's your outer world. Each one of us have our own village. And then E is environment. E, evolve with your environment sustainably. Evolve sustainably, reflect, adapt, and continue thriving. And to continue thriving means that we have to include our environment. So everyone has an outer world. That's the village, the other people that are part of our outer world. And then we have our environment, the objects and things that are out there outside of our inner self. That's what I mean by outer world. The next part of our definition is without following a straight path. This is very important to keep in mind because I believe following a straight path is an illusion, but that's what success and growth mean for many people. Often, the path is not even visible to us until we take those first few steps. That's why I mean following a straight path is an illusion, because if we're going to have that as the foundation of our truth, that, oh, there's a straight path that I need to take, we will fail because the straight path does not exist. As I mentioned here, the path is not even visible to us until we take those first few steps. That's when you start seeing, oh, there is my path. I thought that was my path, but after I took a few steps towards it, I realized, oh, I have to go this way or have to go that way. That's why this picture is what I picked, because Sometimes we feel, oh, this is where I'm supposed to go. This is what the straight path means. And then you cross this intersection right here and you go, wait. Do I go straight or do I go on this turn? Oh, I think it's good to go to this turn. This is where I wanted to go. And then you go to that turn and you end up coming out the other side over here. And then you go, oh, okay, it's a dead end. Where should I go now? Should I go left or right? And then you go up. You see my point where all of this, it may seem like you're going to the straight line, but there's always a path that opens. I like to think of the path we take more of an exploding firework, the way you look at it, where there's a center, that's us, our starting point, and then we explode into different directions depending on our purpose, depending on the other definitions of the thriving mindset. The next definition is about always aligned with what matters most. What I mean about that is being purpose driven, knowing your why, knowing your values, knowing your mission, knowing your purpose in life. That's why people ask, what is life? Why are we even here? I think what people are asking is, what is our purpose of being here? What is my purpose? And each one of us have our own purpose as a mom, as an entrepreneur, as a woman, and most importantly, with ADHD. I say most importantly because that is part of who I am. And so I have to recognize that as when I'm building my purpose, my ADHD is part of who I am. It's not a label, it's not an identity, not at all. It's just recognizing that it's part of who I am. And by doing that, that allowed me to create this thriving ADHD mompreneurs community. That allowed me to have this mission-driven company, the ADHD Life Simplified, which is powering our thriving ADHD mompreneurs community. If I did not recognize my ADHD, I wouldn't have found my purpose of helping others with the same brain as me. That's why I want to recognize that as well and celebrate it. And to recap, this is the definition again. Now that you have an understanding of what each part of the definition means, I wanted to read the definition in full again because repetition is key to learning, not just for neurotypical brains, but especially our neurodiverse brain. So thriving mindset means a way of thinking that honors our evolving inner self and outer world without following a straight path and always aligned with what matters most. You might be asking, how is the thriving mindset different from success or growth mindset? This is how. Let's start with success. Success, what it often means is external milestone about money, status, productivity. But what thriving means is internal alignment with your values, peace, and purpose. When I started my journey and trying to figure out who I am and what does it actually mean to have a fulfilling life, I thought at the very beginning of my life, when I was very young, that success was what I needed to attain. And I was trying to get external milestone. I did get the money, the status, the productivity. I was a lawyer. I was earning six figures. I had the status of being a seasoned trial lawyer. I was on Law and Crime Trial Network on TV, and I was a TEDx speaker. And I was very productive. I was very productive with being a lawyer and a mom and an entrepreneur. But that success felt empty for me. And I thought there was still something missing. Success is not it. I was missing the internal alignment with my values, my peace, and my purpose. Now that I know what thriving means to me, that I have internal alignment with my values, peace, and purpose. And then the next part is growth. I thought, okay, if success is not the definition that I should attain for, then maybe it's growth. I need to grow. And growth means progress over time. This is what it often means, that you have to be more, you have to be better, you have to be higher. It's linear, the straight path that I was talking about. In my culture, I'm Filipino, the path for success and growth is linear because that's what I was told to finish elementary, go to high school, go to college, become a lawyer, and then work as a lawyer, and then retire, and then die. That was the idea. But I felt, okay, I did do and try to follow growth. I even grew. I mean, the growth mindset, I tried for money, status, and productivity as well. Yes, the growth mindset helped me become more successful, but it was still empty, like I mentioned before. And I did have a lot of progress over time. I had more, better, and higher income, higher status. But what thriving really means is adaptation and integration, even during rest or regression. The rest or regression is very important because I realized that when I was thinking of growth, I was thinking that if I am not progressing, if I'm not getting better, if I'm not moving up in this ladder, then I'm not growing. Then I'm a failure. That if I rest, that I'm not growing. Well, then I shouldn't rest. I should work even though I'm very sick with the flu, or even though my mind is not where it's supposed to be, or even though I'm going through my depression or really hard ADHD symptoms, or even though my energy is low because my hormonal cycle is making my ADHD symptoms worse, that I should still go and push forward because that's what society said growth means. I'm not growing if I don't do that. But really, rest is being productive. Rest is thriving. That's what thriving means, that you adapt and you integrate rest and even regression into your system. If that's what your body and your inner self and outer world needs, then that's what must happen. So that's what success and growth were that I was trying to attain initially. And I realized that there was still a gap. Something was still missing. And then I realized that I had to figure out my own definition, my own way of thinking, and that was thriving. Thriving can sometimes be misunderstood as everything's going well. It is not. There are good times and bad times in thriving. But what thriving means is that you're living in honest rhythm with your reality. You're honoring your energy and your capacity without shame, judgment, or stigma. That's what thriving means to me and what I want to share with you as well. Finally, the thriving mindset, think of it as having the three C's. But first, recognize that the thriving mindset is when your brain, your business, your family, and deeper calling are working with each other instead of against one another. Also, the thriving mindset is your permission slip to grow on your terms without giving up what matters most. Give yourself permission to grow. Give yourself permission to find your own terms and give yourself permission not to give up what matters most. I was giving up a lot of things that mattered most to me when I was thinking of success and growth only. But when I shifted to the thriving mindset, I thought, I don't need to give those up. They can all work with each other instead of against one another. And the thriving mindset is rooted in clarity, compassion, and connection. That's what I mean about the 3 C's. And to give you a visual representation of what I mean, it's this. Clarity is seeing your path with focus and attention. Compassion is treating yourself with kindness through all seasons of your life. And compassion is compassion for yourself and for others. And connection is building meaningful relationships that support you. Again, repetition is key to learning. So one last time, the thriving mindset is a way of thinking that honors our evolving inner self and outer world without following a straight path and always aligned with what matters most. Next steps, you might be asking. So what do I do now that I know what a thriving mindset means? How can I implement that? The first step is to pause and reflect on what I just shared with you. You likely have instinctively felt what a thriving mindset is, but have not put the language into it. And that's my goal, is to put the actual definition and the actual words so that we can express it to others and we can identify it for ourselves so that it doesn't feel nebulous. It's more concrete, that's what you're striving for. I invite you to pause and reflect and strive for a thriving mindset. Your next step is to watch the T series videos inside our community, and you can find it by going to our classroom. Here's our community, the Thriving ADHD Mompreneurs, and then go to the classroom tab at the top and then click on this folder, the Thrive Framework. Click on that. You will see and open the pages inside the folder. There's an introduction here, and this thriving mindset definition, I'll put that after the introduction. That's why you don't see it here. But as you can see, the folders, this main folder have been divided into subfolders based on the different acronyms of the Thrive framework. And then when you click on this T, it will be divided into sub-pages. These are the different topics that you will find under the T framework, the tune in. The first 7 bite-sized videos are about the science of ADHD. They're bite-sized because they're 5 to 15 minutes to 20 minutes long, and the entire series, the 7 topics, is only 1.5 hours. So you can binge watch all of them in one, like a podcast, or you can watch them one at a time. Now, why do I have the science of ADHD here? I invite you that even if you've learned about ADHD or if you're newly diagnosed, then I highly recommend this. This is a fast track of learning about updated ADHD information. I was diagnosed over 20 years ago. You'll hear me saying that a lot. And 20 years ago, things that were facts are not true anymore because of research being updated. And that's okay. That's what research is, trying to confirm what we thought we knew and replacing that with what we truly know at this time. And what we truly know at this time will probably be different 20 years from now. And again, that's okay. Also, the reason why I invite you to learn about the science of ADHD is this. ADHD is not your fault, but it is your responsibility. It's your responsibility to learn about ADHD, to know about it and understand it, to manage your ADHD symptoms, and to share that information with others so that when we explain what ADHD is to society, to our families, to our friends, to our kids, to our partners, then we value our village. Lastly, stay tuned. I will be adding a first principle thinking simplified video in our T series. I will add it as number 8 right here. What that is because T for the Thrive framework is tune in to our brain, our ADHD brain and mind. The first principle thinking is how I have been thinking and breaking down my truths, breaking down what I believe is my personal truths and knowledge. And I wanted to share how I do that so you can do the same for you and figure out your own truths. I'm going to give you skills, not just information, in the Thrive framework. So I want to make sure you have the skill to break down your own truths for your own way and your own purpose. I'll see you in the next video, and I appreciate you.